Hello, Elliot.
Hello, Reimer. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm all right, thanks. Um,
It's
my
early,
grandmother, sorry,
early where you are?
it's 1 a.m.
1 a.m.
Um,
What were you about to say?
my grandmother passed away just about a week ago.
Oh,
Uh,
sorry
so
to hear.
uh, this course has really been helping. Thank you.
Good, good. Are you experiencing a lot of emotion in the meditations?
Yeah.
Hmm. How are you relating to those? Hello, Marco.
Hello.
Uh, we tend to create stories about people and ourselves, and stories about ourselves and those people. And I think that it's shown me how arbitrary those and changeable those stories really are. How they really are just habits of telling stories.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Changing depending on the mood, the emotion, the time. Yeah, yeah. And how is the meditation going with all of those stories? Are you finding yourself, are they quite sticky or are they kind of quite easy to recognize as whimsical structures?
They're not so hard to recognize, but the underlying emotion is just like
Mm-hmm.
I can feel the impatience. Like when is this just gonna
Mm-hmm.
resolve? Right? But
Mm-hmm.
I remember we're going for insight, not um um calm, right? Not the calm of body. We're focusing on the insight. So that's actually that's good in a way because I oftentimes I can't do the I can't be calm. The emotions have been too much sometimes, but have the calm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's a really nice thing you mentioned of calm versus insight. Um, and we're really going for fundamentally shifting our relationship towards all emotion, all states, not just about creating a specific state. And of course, the effect of that is most of the time more calm. But we're not going there through focusing on calm. We're going there through realization, through um, releasing the habit of pushing it away, of craving something else. So you said nicely, like there's waiting a little bit. You're kind of like seeing it go. You're recognizing the thoughts, which are maybe more loud around that emotion, but there's still this undercurrent of emotion which is present. And often if it's something strong, if it's like a grief or something like you're might maybe experiencing now, it will just take time. There's almost like a law of nature. The body, the nervous system is going through that process, and we can't um we can't force it to end. So we are learning, we're just giving the space for that to bubble. And of course the different associated thoughts, stories are kind of symptoms bubbling up, and just continuing to be with that, be with that, be with that. And for our insight practice, it's not, no meditation object is better than any other meditation object. So whatever is present right now, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant or neutral, that is the perfect practice for you in this moment. So you don't need to make it go away and then you start practicing. No, the practice is right here in that state. Which yeah, you already did the other course, so you already have a good understanding. Right. And do you have any questions, Elliot? That any specific things that you wanted to um, bring today, also for everyone else that might benefit from it?
Well, it's just made me think about how I mean we say it all the time, everything's impermanent, but it's not just a description of the things, it's a description of what everything is. It's impermanence, and and there's a deeper piece from accepting that than there is from chasing peace. uh, and and I guess I could have connected those dots intellectually before, but I feel like it's very alive for me right now. It's like I'm like right on that edge, and so thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Really well said. Um, the the piece from realizing the impermanence, the shifting, the deeper you realize this shifting nature of the structure of body and mind, the deeper the acceptance, a much deeper peace arriving than chasing states of peace. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Good. Let's move on to Marco. You're raising your hand.
Hi, Raimar. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I had a few questions on the practice itself.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one is about dealing with pain. So, like, how do you suggest to, deal with pain when this comes in the body? Because, for instance, I have an issue with my lower back. So sometimes during the meditation, that becomes a bit stronger. So it kind of distracts me from the object of meditation. So, like, normally, how do you recommend to deal with that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you have pain in the lower back while sitting, while walking?
Both.
Both.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's several different things that you can do. The most importantly is not to ignore it completely, like ignore that it's part of your experience, but also not to keep circling in it, around it, and the thoughts around the pain. So you have some focus object, and there's this thing which is nagging you. And you must realize that your experience of that pain is not a stable, continuous, solid thing that's always there. But you can recognize that, oh, maybe your attention keeps shifting. Sometimes it's focus object, sometimes it jumps to the pain, sometimes it jumps to thoughts about the pain. Probably most of the time it's thoughts about the pain. And then you just keep recognizing how the attention shifts between those phenomena. So, oh, meditation object, oh, thoughts about pain. Okay, maybe a moment of just deeply feeling that sensation, the actual sensation of that spot in the body. And maybe when you're just with that feeling for a moment, there's no pain, there's no suffering from the pain. And then maybe there's a few moments again of breath, and you just keep basically watching that the mind is just jumping around and shifting between those things. And in that is the realization of that impermanence, the realization that this pain is not this solid, stable thing, but is actually a shifting experience. Thoughts about the pain, some sensations, some unrelated things, feeling the breath for a bit, some unrelated thoughts. And the mind is constantly jumping between these different body-mind phenomena.
Okay.
So that's on a very Vipassana level, how to be with it. Of course, then there's like some tips, like making sure that you're not tensing around the pain in terms of physically tensing muscles, especially if it's in the lower back. Make sure that you're not compensating, tensing maybe the belly, tensing the pelvis, tensing muscles in the back, because sometimes there's like a holding around the pain, a physical holding, and making sure there's this softness, this ease, and almost like allowing that that very solidified block of sensation to dissolve more and equalize more in the space around the space of the whole body. And of course, it will still be there, but maybe there's a bit more softness around it. So that can help. And also being careful with, if you're trying a lot to try and modify your walk or your posture because of the pain, often that can create more tension. So for me, for example, there was a period where I had also pain in the legs, in the lower back, while I was doing in the shoulders while I was doing walking meditation. And I remember I was trying to, okay, there just needs to be the perfect posture, which I find, and then the pain will not be there. And I was trying so hard to get it perfect and get the perfect alignment. And in that process, I was just building a lot of tension in the body and mind. And now I feel, this was more on retreat when I was doing hours. And now, actually, if I don't try to do that, just have this basic softness, basic ease, and coming back to that, and then that is helping.
Okay. Thanks. Maybe if I may, another question as well. Because I've also seen there was a message on the group, and I kind of recognize myself in that as well. It's about the labels. I kind of noticed that. So I find the labels useful when I have to basically recognize that I'm thinking and then going back to the breath. So, but then I feel like if I keep labeling, then I feel like labeling is a process of thinking, because you are saying, like, you're saying something, you're thinking something. And so that distracts me a little bit from the sensation itself. So I feel like I prefer after going back to, to the breath, for instance, and I kind of label once or twice, but then I prefer to stop labeling because I prefer to focus on the sensation. So what do you think about that? Like, is it fine also not to label, or we should try to keep labeling,
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, so when you're coming back, maybe it's helping you recognize that first breath rising or falling. But then you feel then it's becoming more, you have to use like this bit of tension and thought in order to continue doing that. You feel you can't be so much with the experience of it. So you can really allow the labels to use as little amount as possible. Like the labels can barely be a whisper in the mind. You don't even have to say the word. You can just kind of like if you're saying now sitting, and then you say it more quietly, sitting. And then you just know it, sitting. And then maybe you don't even have to say the word, but you just know it. This is sitting. So you have to try and maintain that same level of awareness of the sensation of the action as you let the word drop away. And so you can reduce the labeling. You can really allow it to be very, very subtle, very light. But I would see if you can still have a little bit that feeling of recognition, So not getting completely just lost in the flow of the sensation, but it's more important about the recognition, the knowing of this is this phenomena, this is this phenomena, this is this phenomena. So a label is a little bit like it's like a snapshot. It's like a camera flash. That's flashing consciousness. What is here right now? Okay, this is rising. Okay, this is falling. So it's not something that's like continuous and like, okay, rising, falling, because then it would probably go more in that direction of thinking about, but it's more like a snapshot. And this becomes important because as we start to move more into Vipassana, and as I was saying to Elliot before, it doesn't matter actually what the object of meditation is. The recognizing thinking is just as valid as recognizing breath, just as valid as recognizing pain, just as valid as recognizing the feeling of sitting, just as recognizing the feeling of hearing. So we don't have to actually try to be with the breath continuously for the whole hour or for the whole 30 minutes. That's not the object. That's not the goal. The goal is the continuous moment to moment awareness of what's happening.
Cool. Thanks.
So that was a little bit probably wider and more broader than maybe what you were expecting, but that's more the principle of what we're trying to do, and then you can see how the labels help you understanding that's what we're trying to do. There is periods where I let the labeling drop away if I feel my awareness is really sharp and clear, and even recognizing thinking is very quick and clear, then you don't need any more of the labels. But then again, you start getting a bit lost and hazy, and then okay, I use a bit more of the labels again. So it's a little bit modulating how you use them. One teacher even recommends, if you're super distracted, super scattered, you might even use really spoken labels. You might really verbalize it, like sitting, thinking, to really like hammer it in, but then again, allowing it to get quiet.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Maybe on that topic, for the chat, that someone was the comment that someone made, just to expand on the topic of labeling. She says, Francine, she says, I find some contraction when I label rather than experiencing spaciousness, as I've occasionally experienced. Labeling seems to bring some rigidity, and the focus has felt constraining at times. Yeah, so the same principle applies. Use less. Allow the labeling to be very subtle. Really, like 5% of your attention is in labeling, and 95% is in the experience. And the labeling, you can think of it as something like you're just putting a post-it note, like, okay, this is this. It's not like an arrow that you're shooting, or it's not like a net that's trying to capture or something. It's just a little post-it note, like very matter of fact. Okay, this is this. So if you're using the label to, like, okay, I need to do this, I need to be here, and then it will become a bit more contracted, probably. So more post-it note and then open up. Post-it note, open up. Maybe that helps. Let me know, Francine. Okay. What else is there?
I would like to share something. I'm here twice because my laptop sound doesn't work properly. So just on the labeling topic, I would like, I just had to laugh because I find myself like having the big post-it note, oh, there's big thinking. And then when I'm like really alert, then it's, oh, thinking. I cannot even come back for a little while. It happens to add up because, yeah, but it's okay. It's just from moment to moment, I realize, oh, again, because my mind just works in pictures. So again and again, but then sometimes it comes down. Yeah. But that's just why I laughed, because I don't have a problem with this, but I just had to laugh because I also find it like, oh, this is a little bit of a struggle, but yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. on that topic, actually, if I may say something.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, sometimes it's question of when you find, okay, because of course thinking is happening all the time. In the beginning, it's very obvious, gross, loud thinking, and then maybe thinking becomes more subtle, but the mind is constantly intending to do something, processing something, imagining something, comparing something. Even the intention to come back to the breath is a thought. So there's constantly so much happening. So you don't need to catch everything. You don't need to catch everything. And if you find yourself just looping in a circle of thinking, it's good to just reset it a little bit and forget about it and just come back for some time to the breath. Because what can happen if we're just too much in mindfulness of the mind, mindfulness of thinking, the mindfulness can become a bit hazy or not so sharp. And then we just get caught in thinking and thinking about thinking and thinking that we're so we kind of reset with the breath and we kind of check how clear is my awareness. Can I clearly feel the sensation of rising and then it ending? Can I clearly feel the sensation of falling and it ending? And it's a little bit like resetting and resharpening up the awareness with the body, because with the body it's most easiest to check and to establish mindfulness, and then again we can somehow use that sharpened tool for all of experience.
And I would like to share some an very intense experience I had last night, because I told you, or I wrote to you, Rama, that I practiced meditation 1 hour a day for like in the morning for like 4 weeks. But in general, all my life I had been really struggling with self-discipline. So I'm practicing right now. So I was disciplined about this 1 hour, but I didn't even get the idea to be disciplined about my posture or to be disciplined about my focus. So what I found was, like, before this morning, there were 3 meditations, like 2 evening and 1 morning meditations, where I was struggling so much to sit. It was like incredibly heavy feeling, like I'm so tired. I need to lie down, like just rest in front or stretch a lot. It was like almost like torture, not really like torture. And I was like, okay, I'm not forcing myself. It helped me a lot that you were always again and again commenting in a very gentle way, and it helped me a lot. So I was like, no, I'm not lying down, no matter how tired I am. This is just half an hour of sitting. But it was really so tough. And then eventually yesterday night, I cried because it was so tough. There was like this inner child that was like, but I need to lie down. And I cried because it was, yeah, suffering so much. But I was like, no, because I learned a lot about trauma healing, and I was, no, this is okay. And the feeling is allowed, but we're going to stay sitting, no matter how tired we are now. And also that's when you came in again saying, yeah, just be gentle, and eventually they will come together, that like body and mind will come together. And this optimism also made me cry because I felt so understood. Yeah, and it was very valuable for me. It was very important for me. I think this is experience to keep this self-discipline and practice this self-discipline. So this morning I found it a lot easier, both in walking and in sitting. I found a lot more peace. That's what I wanted to share.
Thank you for sharing. Wonderful. Yes, this is what you're learning. And you are getting the perfect lessons. Whatever is your experience, for other people probably some other topic, not at all related to that, but this is the lesson. Whatever is presenting itself in your experience, this is the teacher, the lesson, what you need to learn. And yeah, this topic of discipline is really interesting. Discipline, how can we make discipline not about achieving something like, okay, I'm going to do this 1 hour thing and force myself to do it and use tension to constrain and hold something up, to hold the structure or something, but allowing discipline to be much more moment to moment. So dealing with, hey, maybe, so I want to meditate for an hour, but the way I do that is just through right here, right now. Hey, I can continue sitting right here. I can now be with this breath. Hey, I can now realize this thought about wanting to lie down. I can notice this screaming. If it starts to become, oh my God, I have to do it for the next half an hour, then it becomes a solid big thing, and then there's resistance, and then either you have to use a lot of tension to push yourself through, or you give into it, or but just, hey, okay, right now I can do it right now. And then so the time passes just through realizing the moment of it. And for sure with the posture, with the mindfulness, all of that is posture, not something that I have to hold. I don't have to hold stillness for half an hour. All I have to do is be still right here, right now. And half an hour appears. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for sharing, Randy, this topic of discipline. I'm going to make a note of that. Right.
So what I found helpful is that in some cases I allowed myself to stretch just for a short moment, either to the front or upside. Yeah, to just not to put too much force, but do it very consciously. And also, as you said, it's just this moment. Okay, just now I'm not going to lie down. Just now. It was, but still, even though I did it from moment to moment, it was incredibly hard. I was really surprised how hard it was, but yeah. I'm very grateful for this experience, and also for how your comments are being so gentle and so present. Like your voice expresses a lot of presence and awareness. That helps me. Thanks.
Thank you. Great. Yeah, sounds like you're having the right approach to it. Good. What else is there? There's someone called iPhone and someone called MH. If you would like to ask something, or comment something, or share something. If you cannot speak out loud, you can also write in the chat. Maybe you're somewhere where you can't speak. On the difference between Zazen and Vipassana. Sure, I can give my thoughts on it. I haven't practiced Zazen extensively, but I've met a few different Zen teachers and practiced a little bit and experimented a little bit with Zazen. So I'm going to comment on Zazen, the practice of just sitting. So there's different Zen traditions and they have different practices. I always mix them up. There's one Rinzai and one, what's the other one? Doesn't matter. But in Zen, they use different techniques. In one tradition, they use mindfulness of breathing, and then they use the koans. And in the other tradition, they just use just sitting. So you sit, you face the wall, there's no instructions, no come back to anything or do this with your mind or that. It's just sit, face the wall, hold the posture, don't move, relax the body, keep the body still, and that's it. So one could also call do nothing meditation. And in my opinion, they are different ways of approaching the same thing. So Vipassana emphasizes more the kind of active noticing, and through active noticing, developing clarity and equanimity of our experience. And this type of Zazen is emphasizing more, don't interfere with anything, do nothing, and naturally you will start to notice. The natural consequence of not interfering with anything is you start to notice what's happening. You start to notice, you realize what's happening. And so I feel they really come to the same thing. They just have a different way of, different qualities they emphasize along the way, to foster realization. And of course, their own traditions, their own ways of sitting, their own how to walk into the hall, etc. And Zazen is also, emphasizing a lot, not conceptualizing, and don't think about the practice. Don't try to make anything of anything. In Vipassana, we have a little bit more theoretical framework, and that's why I think it's also nice for us in the modern world, because there's some explanation, there's some, hey, here's how to do it, and me coming from this kind of more intellectual background, I like to explain the things, and here's what's happening in the mind, and that. But that Zen is general, like don't engage with any of that. So it's a different approach, and for some people, they like that better. I also, now I'm finding myself to somehow come back to that, like I have to keep forgetting about all this extra stuff, all this frameworks or theory, especially teaching, that I have some frameworks for how to teach and how to go through it, and I have to keep forgetting that, keep resetting, really just to the right here, right now, and forget any ideas about what this actually is. That's my thoughts on it. Yes, that's a beautiful thing. What's the purpose of eating breakfast in Vipassana is to have energy for the day. In Zen, the purpose of eating breakfast is to eat breakfast. Yeah. Nice. Marco, raising your hand.
Yeah. Now that MH talks about breakfast, made me think about something. So it's about if you suggest anything about like eating before or after meditation, like if there is any food habit that kind of facilitate the practice as well. Because I noticed, for instance, that this morning I meditated before breakfast, so the feeling of hunger was a sort of distraction. And yesterday night I meditated after dinner, so there was this feeling of being heavy or sleepy, during the meditation. So this one thing about food, and the other one is about how important do you think is the space around you for a good practice? So like the tidiness of the space or the amount of objects we have in the room, because this is specifically for the walking meditation, because I normally do it with my eyes open. So I see objects and automatically I start thinking about someone that gifted the object or something that reminds me of some experience, So yeah, what do you recommend?
Yeah. Yeah, so on food, really nice that you are observing for yourself the effect of food, how it is, and seeing the different dimensions of the practice. How is it when it's heaviness, sleepiness? What kind of state of mind that creates? How is hunger? In retreats, they generally recommend to eat less, to eat light, and to eat enough to keep this feeling of hunger satiated, but not so much that you are full and sleepy from eating. So also the type of food you eat matters. If you're eating very heavy, oily foods, of course, will become more like this. If you're eating more fast carbohydrates, then maybe you will feel more the feeling of hunger because the drop in the blood sugar. But you can meditate really very well on very little food. So the more you are really practicing, the less you need in food, because the more the mind is becoming still and less reactive, and that's actually what's burning food, and less muscle tonus, less tonus of the nervous system is also using. You need to eat less food. So for now, for this course, just eat light, don't eat too much. Don't eat right before the meditation. That's usually it's better idea to have some space after meditating first thing in the morning. I don't eat before I meditate. I just drink some water maybe. Yeah, and what is this hunger really? To investigate also this hunger. What is this hunger that you feel, this sensation? Is it really you need this, or is it just some habit? Is it from the mind? Is it some thoughts about the food, or is it really some sensation in the body that you feel related to this? And for example, I noticed that when I eat a heavy meal in the night before, in the morning there will be some feeling of vacuum or constriction in the belly, even though I ate heavy meal. And I think I used to associate that feeling of vacuum constriction with I need to eat. But actually now I see that as something more, oh, there's still some process going on there and the food is still not fully digested. So actually I need to give more space. So actually I don't eat breakfast. So yeah, there's no rule. You just figure out a bit for yourself. Space. If you are practicing very well, if you're very deep, the space does not matter at all for your practice, because no matter what is happening, you're observing and cutting clearly any extra, any abstraction, any thinking about, any continuous. You're seeing something, you see it. For example, this morning in my meditation, I was also practicing with eyes open, and there's a clock on the oven. There's a clock on the oven, and I was noticing that is different. Seeing just that image of the clock on the oven. There's the moment of seeing it. There's and the first few times I saw it, it was just seeing it, and then I noticed later I saw it, and then my mind interpreted the clock and what time, and then a few times later my mind interpreted time and the implication for that on the duration of how much walking time is left. So there's different things happening there. So if you're really clear and just when you recognize seeing as just seeing, you recognize hearing as just hearing, walking you recognize it quickly, then it's not a problem where you are. But of course, on the way there, if we don't have so much skill, if we are more scattered, then the things start distracting us more. And then, of course, it's nicer to have a cleaner space, clean space of sitting, clean space of walking. That's why you face the wall for Zen meditation, because the wall is blank, there's nothing there. Yeah, so you can also, like the food, you see a bit for yourself. So you can use these aids to help yourself, but ultimately you don't need it. Randy?
So I have a very specific question because I'm traveling on Wednesday. So because it's just me, I'll try to keep it short. So on Wednesday, I have to get up very early, and I think at the airport I will have time for morning meditation. And then traveling, and then in the afternoon, evening, I'll be on a BlaBlaCar or on a bus, something. So that would be the time for my evening meditation. Or because when I arrive at my friend's place, then I want to just chat. And I really don't want to skip the meditation, but I don't really know how to do it in the airport or in the car, or how I can maybe have a little advice on that one.
Yes. Yeah, so when I'm traveling, which I do quite a lot, yeah, it's hard. I find it it's difficult to do the walking meditation while traveling because it's quite like you're here and you're just marching up and down. It's quite intense and quite obvious. The sitting is quite easy to do, like anywhere. Just close down your eyes and do it. So sometimes in the airport, what I will do is I will just like I will stand facing a window and I will just I will kind of do walking meditation or standing meditation, and I'll just, instead of walking, I will just maybe keep noticing changes in the posture. Maybe to keep noticing, maybe I shift to the left a bit. I notice that I shift to the right. Or I have some subtle movements in the spine. And then that's my anchor a little bit, the feeling of standing and just gentle movement. And doing the standing meditation like this. But it's difficult to do that for half an hour. So usually I do 15 minutes or something. So yeah, you can find ways to create the ingredient is just to have a container, a space where you're doing something very simple with the body, and the priority during that time is mindfulness and awareness. So however you create that, however you can create that while traveling, that's good enough. And of course, then you get back to your normal and you restart where you were. It's also very interesting to observe how that works and how one is attached to certain forms of the meditation, but really you can do it.
Yeah, because for me, as I explained before, the discipline aspect is quite important at the moment. So I think I'll try to do the half an hour. And because I will listen to you guiding the walking meditation. And I just thought in the car, I might even just tell whoever is there that I'm meditating for 1 hour now and close my eyes and move my feet or something like this. So to keep the schedule and keep the discipline.
Absolutely, that sounds good.
Thank you.
Good. Was there something else today? I wonder, did you guys watch the 5 hindrances video?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I didn't know there was a video, but I read the text.
In text. I sent also a video, I think, in the email yesterday. There's
I think
one text and one video. Yeah.
about your emails, I figured that the links are not in different color, so they are hard to.
Oh, really?
be recognized as links sometimes, for me at least. I don't
Okay.
know how about others.
I thought I make them in blue. This one was in black. Oops. Okay. Maybe I'll repost it in the WhatsApp. But yeah, so for the hindrances, you can actually label the hindrances also if you wish. You can if it helps you, if you notice when a hindrance is present, you put a label on it. This is sleepy, this is liking, this is doubting, this is worrying. Can help a little bit. Just that. Okay, last opportunity. Otherwise, the next on Wednesday. If you have anything to share. Okay, great. Thank you very much. And I wish you a wonderful start of your week. Bye-bye.